Most people spend 6 months or longer jumping from one YouTube video to another and have still never touched a fucking tattoo machine. And they think that they're actually learning doing this. But let's be honest, they're just wasting time because they're missing the number one thing that every single beginner tattoo artist needs: structure. In this video, I'm going to teach you the exact structure, the full curriculum that I've taught over 100,000 students to tattoo with. But more than that, I'll tell you exactly what I'd be doing if I were to start from scratch again. Follow this and I can guarantee you're gonna go from never holding a machine to being able to do some pretty cool, if I don't mind saying so myself, designs by the end of it. You're not gonna be a pro, but you're definitely gonna be going in the right direction. Let's jump straight in. So day one, straight line. Now, prior to this, there is a bunch of lessons that you would have watched if you were on my course, my fundamentals course, teaching you how to set your machine up, set your workstations up, all the generic things that you need to be able to do before you actually hold the machine. But this is day one with the machine in your hand. Why, Ben, do you get us to do drills, not even a design, on the very first day? Simple. This is the first time a lot of people are holding the machine and doing a tattoo. It's all done on fake skin. We do a drill. It's basically just a sheet of solid straight lines, really short, with the emphasis of we want to start at the beginning at line, point A, finish at point B. We want to do it in one motion without stopping, because you don't yet know how to join a line together. What if you get halfway and have to stop? That's a different lesson. Like I say, we're doing it in bite-sized chunks. The very first thing is just doing a straight line. And before we even start that, the first thing that I get you to do is at the very beginning of the line, just gradually, so slowly, go towards that line and wait for the needle to touch the mat, and you'll get a tiny little dot. You know then that that is the control. You get a feeling for when the needle is going to touch the skin or the mat in this instance. Then we move on to day two. Doing the straight lines. Ben, we've already done that, but in different directions. Why something so simple? Well, like I say, I've taught over 100,000 people how to do this. And if I were to go right back, this is what I'd be doing day two. We've done straight lines, day one. Now we need to learn, how do we do those in a different direction? Because it's not just a case of, well, I'll just move my hand in a different direction like I would a pen or a pencil. We're using a different medium. A machine needs to be treated different to a paintbrush or a pencil. We need the machine to follow the direction of the line. So I would learn that. No jumping around on YouTube from one thing to another. Let's learn straight line. Then let's learn straight line, different directions, because let's be honest, every design that you see out there, majority have got lines in, and them lines are going in different directions. So we need a drill that implements that. So that is exactly what I'd be doing. I'd be doing a full sheet, joining lines. So I use cubes, just going in a square. So the lines go in all directions, up, side to side, up and down, all directions covered. Next up, day three, what would I be doing then? I already mentioned this in day one. We did short lines with the intention of going from point A to point B in one go. Let's think about a lot of designs, really long lines. What if we were doing the line and then we just become uncomfortable? We couldn't carry the line on in a comfortable position, so we've got to stop. We've got to learn how to come out of the skin and go back into the skin. And you've seen it time and time again where there's a really long line in a design and somewhere around the middle, there's like a little blob. And that's because they haven't learned how to join the lines correctly. So that is what I'd be practicing on day three. Day four, we've done the straight lines, different directions, joining the lines. Fucking hell, Ben. It'd make real sense to do curved lines next. Guess what? That's exactly what we do. Then we start implementing curved lines. Again, because it's not just as simple as, well, I'd just arch. You've got to do things a particular way. So you've got to arch, but the machine has got to follow the curvature. You've got to learn to keep the same depth, the same speed, the same consistency. So what better way to dedicate an entire day learning that one particular skill? The curved line. And we do it in different directions. We push the line, pull the line. So natural progression on day five, again, this is all real life stuff. If I were to go right back to, Ben, you've never held a machine, we've just clicked his fingers, your memory has gone, you've got to start from scratch, what would you do? This is what I'd be learning on day 5. We've done straight lines, joined lines, straight lines, different directions. We've done curved lines. Now I'd be wanting to kind of bring it all together, full circle. Right? I don't just mean do one circle. Right, Ben, I can do them. That's wrong mentality. I'd be doing mat after mat after mat of just different size circles, really small ones so they're tight, bigger ones so I get used to that movement, then bigger arches in different directions. And a circle, there's no start or finish point. So you've got to then implement what we've already learned in previous lessons, joining the lines together. So that means you've got to start the line a little bit different as well, don't it? So that is what I'd be implementing. Day 6, I'd be wanting to push myself. We've had 5 days on drills. You've got to keep things exciting. So I'd be thinking, right, I've done straight lines, joined lines, different directions, curved lines, circles. What designs can I put together with the skills that I've already done to keep it exciting, to keep it fresh? And so I've kind of got something nice and enjoyable to look at the end. So far, we've just been doing drills. So important, not the most exciting things to do in the world. So I'd be doing a mandala design. Simple reason, there's straight lines, there's curved lines, there's short ones, there's long ones. It really does hit home and it puts everything that we've already covered into practice. This is the format that I also teach on my course. All the students have had the same response to it. Once they're getting to the, I've done a design, everything seems to start clicking and making sense. That's why we did all them drills. That's why I did curved line. That's why I did the circle. God, they were right. I've had to stop that line mid-stroke because I ran out of ink or I become uncomfortable. But I know how to join in. So it's an invisible join. Everything starts coming together at this point and we're literally on day 6. Day 7 would be kind of the same as day 6. Little bit more of a complicated design. I go for the rose design. So we've done the mandala that really emphasizes on everything. The rose, very similar, putting it all together. By day 7, you probably notice, look, everything that you've been doing is drills or really focusing and developing one tiny little piece, one skill at a time per day. And that's done purposely because I want you to really emphasize each individual aspect of tattooing because that is what a full design is compiled of. It's learning the individual aspects, kind of like getting a house and thinking, I'm gonna lay each brick one brick at a time. Guess what? That's how an house is built. But once it's all together, you don't look at it as an individual brick anymore. You look at it as a home, a house. Same as we look at tattoo designs as a whole. But in essence, it's just loads of the same basics done on repeat. It's just straight lines, curved lines, or solid areas of black or whip shading, the same thing. So I break it down into bite-sized chunks so anybody can learn and it's not overwhelmed. So let's get back onto it. More simple stuff coming. So day 8, I'd then be wanting to experiment. So all that we've done so far, we'd be using the same needles because we're getting used to the techniques first. Next, well, what about different line weights? We've done all the straight lines, curved lines, we've done a few designs, we've done circles, all with same needle to really get used to how the machine feels and what to look out for. Then I'd be wanting to switch it up. Let's say you'd used a 5 or a 7 liner to do all this practice. Now I'd be using a 3 or a 14. What changes? It's kind of like an experiment, but this is how you learn. It's pointless just saying learn with this one thing. This is how I do it, this is how you do it. It's let's experiment, let's find what you like, let's find your weak areas. Day 9, I'd be wanting to start implementing some sort of shading. So the way that I do it is dot work. It's really, really good, or some people call it pointillism. The theory behind it is the principle of shading. So I'd start off just with the little boxes like we already did during line work lesson. I'd do loads of mats and say, right, with this needle, I'm gonna learn how to block out an area to get that muscle memory, and you do end up with fucking wrist ache. But how do I not create a pattern? And there's certain things that you can do where you don't see the pattern within the dots. Day 10, so we've done the dot work, solid areas. Now I'd be wanting to learn how to get different shades of it. Not everything is just solid black. So the principles behind this, if I want a really light area, it needs less dots, less ink. If I want a mid-tone, it needs around the middle range. So I'd be wanting to practice those and getting them at a consistent tonal value throughout everything. So I can do the light areas, I can do the mid-tone areas, I can do the dark areas. Next up, number 11 is what's in between those. We've got the solid areas, we've got the light, the mid-tone, the blends between them. How do we get from a dark to a light but a gradual, consistent fade? That's what we learn next. So we know how to do the consistent shades, then the blends between the dark to the light. It's the basics, the fundamentals of tattooing. Every single piece that you see out there involves these techniques or this theory. So that's why I do it in that order. Day 12, I've been wanting to same again that you might notice the curriculum follows a very particular order. Learn, implement, learn, implement. So we've just learned the dot work, the solid black areas, then the shades, then the blending from one to another. Next, all right, let's pick a design. And I would use a 3D ball. How can we make it look that 3D, the shadows, make it look like a Sophia just using dots? Well, I'd implement everything that I'd learned so far and follow it, because that just makes sense, doesn't it? That's the progression that we're going down, each step, one day at a time. And then the next few days, I'd just do the same thing again and again. So we'd do the ball, then lesson 13, I would do a cube. Lesson 14, I'd do a cylinder. And then lesson 15, I'd want to mix it up a little bit. These are more like an artistic drawing rather than a tattoo. I'd want to mix it up and think, right, I want to implement everything that I've learned so far to reiterate all the teaching and all the learning. So what I'd do is I'd go back to the mandala that we did earlier, the line work. I'd probably redo this 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And I'd use the dot work method that we've been learning to shade that in. And I'd want multiple different variations. Do I want it all solid black? Do I want it just all really light? Do I want some bits blended? And I'd create little patterns and create different variations of the same thing. So again, redoing the mandala multiple times to hammer that line work, and then filling them all in with different variations, different needles, using the dot work, just implementing everything that we've learned up to date. Next, I'd do the same thing, but with the rows that we'd already outlined. I'd then use the dot work to shade that in, and I'd reline it 4, 5, 6, 7 times and think, right, I'm gonna get a really light soft rose. Right, I'm gonna have one that looks a little bit more harsh, more abrupt blends. Everything, just reiterating it again and again so it really drills the lessons into your head. So next up, I'd wanna really push myself this time. We've reused the older designs to capitalise on everything that we've learned. I just wanna wipe the slate clean now. What could I do that implements everything? So I'd probably do like a semi-cartoony type eye. They're a really good place to start on a portrait. It's what everybody looks at. Not realism, it's too early for that. But I'd want solid line work. I'd want the dot work to be on point. So that's what I'd do. I'd do an eye design. Don't have to be anything fancy, just nice and simple. Like I say, more like a clip art, but done to a very good standard. Who knows the difference between these two machines? They look the same, don't they? Both same colour, both coils, totally different. All right, one is for lining, this one. This one you wouldn't line with, but it is perfect for shading. The look similar, totally different jobs. Lining needles and round shaders, the exact same principle. Let me show you. Next, on day 18, I'd want to move away from all just the lines, the dot work, because there's more to tattooing than just dot work. In fact, unless you're niche in it, you don't use dot work a great deal unless that's your style. What about the shading? And I'd want to start with a round shader. So that's what I'd do. So on day 18, I'd want to learn about the round shader. What makes it different to the round liner? What is the difference? A 3 liner and a 3 round shader, they look the exact same to the untrained eye. So I'd want to learn the difference between them. I'd want to play about with different liners and different shaders to see how they felt different and how they went into the mats or the skin different. Before I started learning all the techniques with them, I want to understand that needle grouping, that family of needles. I need to start becoming familiar with it. So that's what I'd do. I'd get a load of different size round shaders and play with them. Understand the difference between those and a round liner. Next, on day 19, I'd start breaking down the round shaders, starting with packing solid black. How do you do it? Is it different to the dots? Yes, because we don't have to do dots anymore. So how do we do solid areas of black with the round shader of different sizes? We might use a 14 round shader, 9 round shader, and then a 5 for those tighter areas in tattoos. So I'd implement that, and I wouldn't do it on a design. I'll be honest with you, I would go right back to the basics and think, right, I'm gonna do a mat full of cubes, squares, and I'm gonna block every single one of them in with a round shader until it becomes like second nature, until that muscle memory starts developing and things feel a lot more natural. So lesson 20, I'd want to do the same as dots. Not everything is just solid, so I'd want to learn how to whip shade next. And this is a technique used in shading to go from that dark to light, to get that consistent, that nice gradual blend. And it's something that I can almost guarantee now, if you look at any top class artist and like masterpiece that they've done, there's going to be elements in there that will have required whip shading. And I dare say whip shading would have been the only method that they would have used, because it's just the right method for certain situations. Going from dark to light in small spaces, this is possibly the best method of getting that outcome. So that's exactly what I'd do. And I won't even be doing it on designs. I'd be doing it on drills again, because drills highlight every single mistake. If you get it wrong, there's nothing else on the design that can like hide the fuck up. It forces you to improve. On day 21, I'd want, well, what about all the soft, continuous shades, different tones? How do you do that? Well, that's what I want to learn, and the method that we use is called brush shading. It gets that soft, buttery shading. But would I be doing it on a design? No, I won't, not yet. I'd be going to the drills. I'd do a load of cubes, I'd pick different size round shaders, and I would hammer that drill, swooping in and swooping out. Pendulant shading, brush shading, like painting. If you just kept your wrist still and just use the wrist, the brush would just gradually touch. It'd do its stroke and then it'd lift off at the end. Or like a plane landing and taking off. Everyone's got a different way of explaining it. The exact same thing basically. Whatever resonates with you better, that's how you think about it. But the principle is the same. We're learning with drills in a very structured particular order. Next up, from day 22 to day 26, we'd be doing design after design. Like 5 designs back to back, different designs, implementing everything that we've already learned and using the round shader. Really getting used to how they feel, the different results that it can create, the movement patterns that we've already learned and hammered with hours and hours of drills. Now let's start putting it together. By this point, you're going to be looking at your work thinking, have I actually just fucking done that? I've heard it 1,000 times, if not more. People are so shocked that when they start learning in the correct order, how fast they start to develop. And they're looking at the work thinking, God, 10 days ago, 15 days ago, I never in a million years thought that I would be doing this. But we can push it a little bit further. So on day 27, I want to go back into a drill, but this time the line work speed drill. For a simple reason, we've learned all the lines, different directions, curved lines, straight lines, joining lines, circles. We've done it all. We've then done loads of drills and loads of designs to implement it all. But for some reason, and I've found, like I say, after teaching over 100,000 people doing this, something's sometimes missing, and it's the lack of experience and the lack of just the time. But a lot of people, they really grip the machine or they just feel uncomfortable. They can do it, but I often got told it just, something doesn't feel right. I feel like I'm having to really concentrate. So I do what I call the speed drill. It's where you forget about the perfect line. You forget about the super smooth, super consistent. Everything's got to be perfect. It goes out of the window with this drill. It's fun. It's fast. You forget about all that. It's about getting movement. It's about loosening up. Look like loosey-goosey, fucking jump up, dance around. But with your arm, with a machine. And because it takes your brain away from everything's got to be perfect, it's just about getting loose. When you then go back to doing a design or back to doing those drills, you can feel the difference. And I think it really, when you take away the pressure entirely from doing those perfect lines, them designs, them drills, and then just all pressure's removed, like, look, let's just have a bit of fun. I want you to do this design and time yourself as fast as possible. Fuck it, don't matter what it looks like, just race. Then when you do it again and actually take your time, that stress has gone. And that makes a massive difference. So I don't think it is just all about the technique. There's a lot of the mentality side behind it as well, building that confidence. And you'll be surprised how just doing a few different activities like this really makes you understand, look, I'm fucking getting it. It's sinking in. And we're getting close to day 30, which is absolutely the pinnacle of the learning process. But before that, day 28, we need to cover the bloodlining and tapering. Everything that we've done so far has just been with a solid black. What about when you're wanting a line to taper off, or you're wanting to, if you've understand and have heard it before in tattoo industry, bloodlining or grey wash lining? What is that? Well, I don't want to leave any stone uncovered, so I'm going to presume that you know nothing. I knew nothing, so I'd want to learn that on this day. I'd want to think, well, not every line is solid black and that's all we've done. What do I do if I don't want that? All right, let's learn it. Day 29, I'd want to start touching magnum needle. It's a really big common groove. It's so versatile, you can do so much with it. But I think a good place to start with the magnum needle is let's learn about the mistakes that everybody makes first, because I'm a huge believer in if you can avoid something from day one, avoid it, but you've got to understand what those things are first to know what to avoid. So I'd want to learn what the most common mistakes are when using the magnum needle. And the amount of people that message me during this stage of learning is, I see it all the time, Ben. Everything that you've just explained, I'm now noticing these mistakes. I'm now looking at people's work saying they did that wrong. They didn't even have to see it, but you can see from the end result, it's been done wrong, and it's so noticeable. Once you understand what's caused it, you can avoid it moving forward. Before we get on to day 30, look, let's be honest. If you can line, if you can shade, be it dot work or a round shape, you can tattoo. At this point, you've done countless designs, countless drills. You've probably had 150 hours more with the machine in your hand. Well done. You can tattoo, but it's like learning how to swim. At this point, you can swim. I don't want to just be able to swim. I want to be a fucking Olympic athlete and winning gold medals. So let's move on to day 30. Using the magnum needle, and this is just the very start. There's so much more to learn after this, but you can already tattoo now. And I just want to touch on the first thing to learn with the magnum needle before we get on to all the fancy stuff, all the different niches like horror theme style designs, filigree stuff, nature style stuff, small intricate work, fine line stuff, or portraits, the very pinnacle of tattooing. But before you touch any of that, you've got to learn how to pack solid black whip mag. Then we start moving on to all that. But that's my first 30 days learning how to tattoo. If I went back to day one, that is exactly what I would do. It's exactly how I've taught over 100,000 people to do it. More, so many more. Just an easy number to say. Now, by all means, I've just literally told you the blueprint. You haven't had to go onto my website and buy my course. I've just told you what I would teach you in 30 days. But if you do want me to hold your hand through it and guide you every single step of the way with fully detailed videos on every single topic, then jump onto my website. There's links in the description. All the information is there. I'm not going to bore you with it in this video. I've rabbited on long enough. You've got too much brain overload at the minute. I've just been through so much with you. You can type it in if you want and just go on YouTube and try and learn everything that I've told you by watching random people on YouTube. It is doable, but for a small price, I've packaged the entire thing together. You could literally change your life over next month or two. There's actually a lot more than 30 lessons in the course. Take you around 2 months for less than a meal out. It's that cheap. We've done it at a price that nobody can say, I can't afford that. Go check it out if you're interested. If not, I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next video.